top story here at noon, a major chapter in the Crystal Rogers case comes to an end. Brooks Houck and Joseph Lawson were sentenced for their roles in the Bardstown mother's death and disappearance 10 years ago. Thanks so much for joining us today. I'm Brooke Hash. During victim impact statements Wednesday, Crystal's families called Houck a lowlife before Judge Charles Sims handed him the maximum sentence. He was convicted of murder in July and will now spend the rest of his life in prison. Joseph Lawson, meanwhile, was found guilty of conspiracy to commit murder and tampering with physical evidence. He too received the maximum sentence of 25 years. Our Alexander Goldberg and photojournalist Jessica Farley were at the courthouse in Nelson County as Crystal's mother addressed Houck.
I guess I'm going to ask you these questions, Brooks.
A decade-long investigation leaves a trail of questions.
Did you ever think of how my daughter felt when you murdered her? Did she feel any pain? Did you make sure Crystal knew what you were going to do to her? Did Crystal beg for her life, knowing she had 5 children to come home to?
Crystal Rogers' mother, Sherry Ballard, with the still lingering question about her daughter.
You can admit your guilt, Brooks, and you can tell me where my daughter is, and that's your forgiveness from God.
For 10 years, I've lived with pain and anger and emptiness.
Rogers' daughters, Ashley Miller and Kylie Fenwick, speaking directly to Brooks Houck in the Nelson County courtroom.
You are nothing but a lowlife. You took a mother of 5 children away. I know you don't care because that's just who you are.
I have had so many sleepless nights, and still there are times when I pick up my phone to call her, but I can't because you all murdered her.
That's Barbara Roby, Crystal's aunt, not mincing words.
You didn't reach out to God before because you're too close to the devil.
For 10 years, I have suffered the pain of losing my daughter. Never once have I seen you shed one tear, not one tear.
Cameras weren't allowed in the courtroom for the trial of Houck and Lawson, but they were for their sentencing.
I hope that you slowly rot away in prison.
My only regret is that Kentucky doesn't have the death penalty. But then I think death is too good for you.
I hope you have the worst life possible, because that's what you deserve.
Crystal's sister, Brooke Bryan, and her brother, Casey Ballard, speaking to Houck's character.
You've always smiled, but today I get to go home with my family, and you go to prison for the rest of your life, and I'll be the one that's smiling when I go home.
Sherry walking out to a room filled with relief, knowing they'll serve the maximum punishment. The defendants have a right to appeal. That case will go directly to the Kentucky Supreme Court. But still, as this case comes to an end, there's one lingering question. Where are Crystal's remains? In Bardstown, Alexander Goldberg, WHAS11, on your side.
We also spoke exclusively with Robert Boyd, Joseph Lawson's attorney, who told us about Lawson's immediate reaction to that sentence.
Mr. Lawson was expecting it. Ultimately, we're glad to have some finality in this matter, and so is Mr. Lawson, so that we can move on through the appellate process.
His lawyer did tell us that he has taken the first steps in Lawson's appeal. Judge Charles Sims signed a request for Lawson to have public defenders represent him during that process. Right now, law enforcement officials in Kentucky are joining in on a manhunt for an inmate who escaped from an Ohio jail. 48-year-old Jerry Lee Cooper escaped from Brown County Adult Detention Center back in Ohio Monday night, along with 51-year-old Roy Jean Butler. Butler was apprehended Tuesday in Kentucky. The pair had damaged a security window to escape before successfully making it through the sheriff's impound lot. Kentucky State Police said fish and wildlife boats and helicopters are aiding in that search.
Last night, they were out till after midnight in the helicopters looking, using the FLIR, searching for the body heat, and checked several different things into the early morning hours, and then continued this morning.
Cooper is facing attempted murder, assault, and gun charges. 2 women are looking to spark reform in the wake of a shooting on South Brook Street. Jacqueline Biven is the sister of 36-year-old Ashley Lanham, who was killed outside of a Dollar General on the corner of South Brook and Broadway about 2 weeks ago. Bevan said complexities like mental illness led Lanham to live on the streets of Louisville. She believes reforms need to be made for not only mental illness, but the homeless and gun violence. Summer Dickerson, the founder of Women of the Well Industries, says Lanham's killing is a common problem in other cities her organization partners with.
Every family that is longing and yearning for the loss of their loved one through violence and gun violence and even drugs.
Because again, you can give somebody a house, you can give somebody a job, but if they don't understand how to intake that, then it's just it's a lost resource.
LMPD said there are no suspects in Lanham's death, but they are continuing to investigate. A look outside on your Thursday afternoon here in the lunch hour, Matthew. Beautiful blue skies and just more of a warm up on the way.
Absolutely. Yeah, we're seeing temperatures back into the upper 80s. And once again, for us to head towards today. So, yeah, if you're heading out to any of the events that's going on over the next several days, yeah, it's going to be a bit warm outside. Right now, current temperature's not too bad, though. If right now, if you're heading out for the lunch hour, lower 80s in most spots. If you head further south, still a little bit warmer in places like Campbellsville, 84 degrees, Hodgensville at 83 degrees, and right here in Louisville, 81 degrees. As you look at those weather headlines, the dry days will continue to repeat over the next several days, and we're still seeing those hotter days as well for us as we head towards not only today, but back into tomorrow. And those weekend rain chances still staying active, actually. That bust out forecast heading home will be right around 89 degrees. With mostly sunny skies. Overall, those high temperatures today, sunny and hot weather overall, 91 degrees for highs today in Louisville. Some areas really across further south in Hodgensville, 90 degrees, but you head further into southern Indiana, just into the upper 80s. Of course, we got louder than life kicking off for today, and temperatures going to be really hot heading towards your Thursday and Friday, 93 degrees, and back into Saturday, even 92 degrees. So really 90s across the board over the next 4 days back into the weekend. But what's ahead, we do have some weekend rain chances finally returning. We've seen the drought conditions, but finally going to see some rain on the way for us this weekend. I'll be timing that out coming up in just a few minutes. Back over to you, Brooke.
Matthew, thank you. The remains of a Kentucky airman who'd been missing in Vietnam since 1968 finally returned home today. The Kentucky State Police provided that escort for U.S. Air Force Staff Sergeant Henry Gerald Gish, who made the ultimate sacrifice more than 50 years ago during the Vietnam War. Gish was assigned to a classified radar site in Laos. On March 11, 1968, his position was attacked and overrun by the enemy. He was killed along with 10 other Americans and declared missing in action. Now, thanks to the Defense POW MIA accounting agency, Gish is set to be buried in his home of Berea, Kentucky, with full military honors. The Metro Council just approved an ordinance changing how the city handles permits for protest. The legislation created new exceptions which will allow peaceful demonstrations to take place without a parade or parking permit, as long as protesters don't block emergency vehicles or prevent access to public spaces. Republican Council member Anthony Piagentini from District 19 said the goal is to level the playing field.
I'm giving people an equal footing as long as they're meeting these requirements. I'm reducing the burden that they can exercise their First Amendment rights. That is what we're doing here.
Supporters say this change will make the law consistent with how mayors have handled protest in recent years. Opponents worry it could create confusion over traffic and lead to unequal enforcement. That measure passed yesterday with 4 yes votes, 2 noes, and 1 present vote. Cuts could be coming at JCPS, now facing a massive deficit. At a board meeting Tuesday, district leaders warned the school board they are running low on cash flow. They said right now expenses exceed money the district's taking in. In fact, JCPS is facing a deficit of $188 million. It's actually lower than past years, but leaders said the problem has compounded over time.
Our focus will be on understanding the root causes, working collaboratively, and building a sustainable plan that ensures long-term financial stability. And not only
that working budget was still approved by the board, and now attention turns to the draft budget for next year. Superintendent Brian Yearwood says as the district makes cuts, it will strive to protect the integrity of the classroom and student experience. Maintaining salaries and avoiding universal pay cuts is also a priority.